I think communism is more destructive, right? Given how much. I mean, when we want to build a society, the best way to build a society is with prosperity, and communism goes against that, right?
I disagree,
I
like
know you disagree, but like, given that I believe that communism is as dangerous or even more, sometimes more dangerous than the Islam, do you? It makes sense for me to go after both of them, right? Also, the Iranian people think that. So anti-communism is like very, very popular right now in Iran, right? So it's something that we like. There's a collective agreement over the fact that the two great evils that caused our country to collapse is Islam and communism. So that's why the Iranian people think that
but
they need to
I
defend
don't
their country.
think
Yeah.
Iran is even communist.
No, but the Islamic Revolution of 1979 was the partnership between Marxists and Islamists, right?
Yeah,
That's how. That's
but, like, that
And
doesn't
right
mean
now
it
the
would
huh?
it may not have self-destructed if, like, the commies had won instead of the Islamists.
Yeah, but the communists always work with the Islamists, thinking that they're controlling the Islamists for their agenda. But at the end of the day, it always works against them, and the Islamists basically start removing the Marxists once they have the upper hand. But it doesn't mean that they weren't involved. It doesn't mean that they weren't. Because they're the useful idiots that the Islamists use to get through the gates of the city. The barbarians get used to get inside, and then once they're inside, yeah, the Marxists will get eliminated. But that doesn't mean that they weren't part of the problem, and they continue to be. The thing is that, for example, in Iran, the Marxists everywhere, continue to be part of the problem. Like, Samantha, is it a coincidence that all these communists around the world, they're constantly anti-Pahlavi, they're constant like always anti-Israel, they're always like anti-Pahlavi, they're always anti, America. Like they seem to be on the wrong side of everything all the time. It's not a coincidence.
I mean, they're on the wrong side of everything, but, like, group think like, they're all on the wrong side together when they're on the wrong side,
Yeah, but
and, like
how could we defend communism when they're constantly on the wrong side of everything?
but they're not constantly on the wrong side of everything, like, the Republicans are on the wrong side when it comes to, like, can we give everyone healthcare?
Well, I mean, I believe, yeah, that's what. First of all, even if they're wrong on the side of that, which I don't think they are, they're not always on the wrong side of everything. The communists are like they're more communists are more consistently on the wrong side of things compared to the Republicans. So, for example, for Republicans, they might have good takes and they might have bad takes, but there's the record of having bad takes is the highest when it comes to the communists, when it comes to being on the wrong side of history. The Republicans, for example, support Israel. They're not on the wrong side of that. But I mean, with healthcare, I disagree with that. I think that if you want to take care of the health of the people, if the government needs to get involved, you should just give people money to spend on healthcare. I don't think
Like,
government should run
the
healthcare.
Republicans don't even wanna do that. They don't wanna take care of people's health.
No, 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 no. Many Republicans do believe in negative tax and universal basic income, for example. They do believe in that. They do. For example, John McCain was like, demand side economic support is something that, because Republicans are not for no government involvement. They're just I mean, the ones that I support, they believe that the government shouldn't just mess with the markets. And the way that you support people without messing with the balance of the markets is that you just give people money to spend rather than the government offering the service. The government sucks at offering services other than military, police, courts, and some other stuff. Other than that, they ruin everything when they get involved, because the incentive structure for the government is not the same as a for-profit company. The way that the for-profit company is structured is that they have to provide the best services and the best products for the lowest price to be profitable. So that creates efficiency. When it comes to government institutions, the incentive structure doesn't work like that. Increasing costs actually benefits them because it creates more need for more government agencies and more agents, so more people will be on the payroll, and there is no shareholders to constantly on a quarterly basis to pressure them to reduce the cost, and that's why government run services will become inefficient, right? So, and also it's unfair to private sector because the government is now competing with private sector. That is, it's an unfair advantage that the government has, so it ruins the private sector. So if you want to promote the private sector and promote poor people by giving the poor people the money to spend on healthcare and education and food and housing, then you're supporting them, and at the same time you're boosting the private sector because now there's more customers.
Okay. But, like, it's
You
still
know,
like, at the end of the day, it still feels like, I don't know, a communist idea to, say, like, "Okay, we're gonna, pay for
no,
everyone's,
no, it's not a
healthcare."
communist idea. No, no, no. Helping the poor is not a communist invention. Okay, okay. In fact, under communism, the poor get poorer really fast. Okay, so the communists didn't come up with the idea of supporting poor people. That's a lie.
Then I'd
In fact, if you look, before communism, if you actually read the Wealth of Nation by Adam Smith, which is the foundations of capitalism, it acknowledged the idea that government involvement in is necessary in some cases. All right, let's go through a list. Do we have any? And by the way, Samantha, if you have any questions regarding any of these, I'm always like, do you have any more questions before I go through the list? I
I was
love this
gonna
conversation.
ask, like, is there, like, I don't know, either, like, a Chinese or Cuban or Venezuelan version of you who shows, like, videos from, like, inside and, like, raises awareness about, like, what people inside the country actually think and is, like, from that country and, like, born and raised in that country? With
China is
your
not a communist country, right? So it's not a. If you want to see how if communism is good or not, China would not be a good country to use. An insider from China would not be able to show you whether or not communism is good because China is state capitalism. And what I know about Vietnam, in Vietnam, I was used to be communist, is now people are very pro American right now and very pro capitalist now, even though the symbols are still communistic. Vietnam is now one of the most capitalist countries in the world, and its economy is skyrocketing. The
know?
more capitalistic it's getting, the faster its economy is growing. It's like such a good example of how capitalism brings prosperity. And the Vietnamese people are very, very pro capitalism right now and very pro America. And they're benefiting from it.
Do you think capitalism just, like, makes people bad people? I don't know how.
Capitalism
I mean, not capitalism,
acknowledges human. Oh, what the?
do you think, like, communism, like, being communism makes people, like, I don't know, worse people than, like, if they weren't?
Okay, so I believe that when we have prosperity, it's easier for people to be good people, and when we have poverty, it becomes more difficult, right? When people don't have to, when people are richer, they get less angry with their society, right? When their lives are better. So by
Yeah.
capitalism, when it makes more people prosperous, it makes people more charitable, it makes people kinder, it makes people more satisfied with their lives, right? And it also encourages more people to be kind to each other and be charitable to each other, which also helps poor people more. Communism creates a lot of hate because people's conditions become it brings poverty, but beyond just poverty, communism teaches you that everything that is not communism needs to be destroyed. So
Mhm.
it encourages hatred of the rest of the world, just like Islam does. You know how
But I feel like
Islam
that's
says that
every ideology. Like, I feel like every ideology preaches hate towards anything that's not itself.
every ideology. I mean, I'm a okay. So if you have an ideology that is producing good results and is making people happy, it's justified for you to be against the ideologies that is making people poor and miserable, right? But if
Yeah.
you're on the side, if you have an ideology that is making people poor and miserable, okay, then you're not justified to hate the ideologies that is making people better off and more prosperous, right? So it's like I don't think it's not a fair comparison, right? It depends on who's right.
Yeah, but that's the thing, it's like I said, every ideology, like everyone's tribal, everyone hates everyone who's not on their tribe.
I don't
They
hate.
think there's like,
I don't hate people who are
they
not in my tribe. I mean, I have people who are members of ideologies that I despise, and I don't despise them as individuals.
and that is an amazing thing about you because that's
Oh,
like
well,
a
thank you.
weird exception.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. It's like it's basically the difference between cancer and a cancer patient. Okay. If you hate cancer, you don't hate the cancer patient. They're like, oh, you have cancer? I hate you because I hate cancer. That doesn't make any sense, right? So, like a Muslim, in my opinion, for example, is like a victim of Islam. So it doesn't make sense to hate a Muslim if you hate Islam. In fact, if you hate Islam, you should be more sympathetic to somebody who has been infected by it.